Welcome to the Mystery and Horror channel. Get ready for dark stories that will give you chills. Before we start, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay tuned for every new mystery. Now turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and let's dive into terror. Story 1: Bloody Mary. The legend of Bloody Mary is one of the most famous horror tales worldwide, passed down through generations of children and teenagers who, out of bravery or curiosity, test its truth. It's said that if you enter a dark bathroom, look into the mirror, and say Bloody Mary 3 times, the vengeful spirit of a woman will appear in the reflection. What happens next depends on the version of the story, but the outcomes are never good. The origins of the legend are hazy, with many theories about who Mary truly was. Some say she was a woman accused of witchcraft and sentenced to death during the Salem trials. Before being hanged, Mary cursed those who condemned her, promising to return and haunt the living. Other versions link her to Mary Tudor, the English queen nicknamed Bloody Mary for her religious persecution, though these associations are more historical than supernatural. The most gruesome and widely told version of the legend involves a woman who tragically died while looking at herself in the mirror. Some stories say she was murdered, while others suggest Mary died in a horrible accident that deformed her face. Unable to accept her grotesque appearance, her spirit became trapped between the worlds of the living and the dead, accessible only through mirrors. The rituals for summoning Bloody Mary vary. In some versions, you must be completely alone, while others involve a group of friends to witness the event. Some say you must light a candle before starting, while others believe the spirit responds better in complete darkness. Regardless of the method, the result is always terrifying. Mary appears, often with empty eyes, disheveled hair, and a disturbing smile. Accounts of encounters with Bloody Mary are as varied as they are frightening. Some people claim she scratched their faces or arms through the mirror, leaving real physical marks. Others say she tried to pull them into the mirror, while some allege hearing laughter or horrific screams echoing in the bathroom, even when they were alone. Rarely, some report seeing Mary only for a brief moment before she vanishes, leaving behind a cold sensation and a handprint on the glass. Psychologists suggest the Bloody Mary legend plays on humanity's fear of the unknown and fascination with mirrors as portals to another dimension. Mirrors are often associated with the supernatural across cultures, believed to be doors between the worlds of the living and the dead. The darkness of the bathroom, combined with the anticipation of the ritual, can cause visual hallucinations, reinforcing the belief that Mary actually appeared. Bloody Mary has become more than just an urban legend. Her story has been explored in films, books, and TV series, from classic horror to popular shows like Supernatural. Despite this, the simplicity of the ritual and the mystery surrounding her origin continue to fuel her popularity among thrill-seeking youths. If you decide to test the legend, remember, there's always a risk. It's said that even if nothing happens during the ritual, you might feel a strange presence in the room or dream of Mary in the nights that follow. And if you hear a whisper or see something unusual in the mirror, it's best to blow out the candle and leave immediately. After all, some things belong to the spirit world, and Bloody Mary is certainly one of them. Story 2: The Mothman. In the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, the legend of the Mothman has haunted locals and fascinated supernatural enthusiasts since 1966. This mysterious being, described as a humanoid figure about 7 feet tall with enormous wings and glowing red eyes, is often considered a harbinger of impending tragedy. Its first sighting marked the beginning of a series of strange events that culminated in a devastating disaster. On the night of November 15, 1966, 2 couples were driving along an isolated road known as the TNT area, a former World War II munitions depot. They reported seeing an unusual figure standing by the roadside. As the car approached, the creature spread its wings, which spanned over 10 feet, and began chasing them. Despite driving at speeds over 100 miles per hour, the Mothman kept pace, emitting a high-pitched, metallic screech. Following that night, over 100 similar reports emerged in the area. Descriptions varied, but all included glowing red eyes and the creature's terrifying behavior. Some locals believed the Mothman was an alien entity, while others linked it to a Native American curse, retribution for the disrespect shown to the region's original inhabitants. The climax of the legend occurred on December 15, 1967, when the Silver Bridge connecting Point Pleasant to Ohio suddenly collapsed, killing 46 people. Many residents claim to have seen the Mothman hovering above the bridge in the days leading up to the disaster. Since then, it has been regarded as an omen of catastrophic events. The Mothman legend has transcended Point Pleasant, becoming a global phenomenon and inspiring books, documentaries, and films like The Mothman Prophecies. While skeptics attribute sightings to large birds like owls or cranes, witnesses insist the creature is beyond rational explanation. Story 3. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. In Tarrytown, New York, the region of Sleepy Hollow gained international fame thanks to the chilling tale of the Headless Horseman, immortalized by author Washington Irving in 1820. While the story contains fictional elements, many believe the legend has roots in real accounts of soldiers and ghosts haunting the area during the American Revolutionary War. According to the legend, the Headless Horseman is the spirit of a Hessian soldier, a German mercenary fighting for the British, who was decapitated by a cannonball during a battle near the Hudson River. His body was hastily buried in a local cemetery, but his head was never recovered. Since then, he has been seen galloping furiously through the village's roads, wielding a sword in one hand and either a pumpkin or a flaming skull in the other, in a desperate search for his lost head. Irving's story follows Ichabod Crane, a schoolteacher who moves to Sleepy Hollow and becomes embroiled in a romantic rivalry with Brum Bones, a burly and arrogant local. One autumn night, Ichabod is returning from a party when he encounters the Headless Horseman. The spirit chases him through the woods, and Ichabod mysteriously disappears, leaving only his hat and a shattered pumpkin behind. Whether Ichabod fell victim to the horseman or was the target of a cruel prank by Brum Bones remains a mystery. Sleepy Hollow is filled with historical sites that reinforce its haunted reputation. The Old Dutch Church Cemetery, where the horseman is said to be buried, attracts tourists and paranormal enthusiasts. Visitors often report seeing headless shadows among the gravestones or hearing the echo of galloping hooves at night. Others claim to feel sudden temperature drops and an oppressive presence near the ancient trees surrounding the cemetery. The misty, secluded environment of Sleepy Hollow enhances its air of mystery. Autumn nights, with wind rustling through fallen leaves and distant owl calls, create the perfect setting for supernatural encounters. Locals frequently share tales of shadowy figures riding through the night, and the Headless Horseman is said to appear most often during Halloween. The legend of Sleepy Hollow is more than a simple ghost story. It has become part of the cultural identity of the region. Today, the village celebrates its legacy with themed festivals, ghost tours, and dramatic reenactments of the tale. The Headless Horseman is a central figure in these events, adorning decorations, statues, and even costumes. Despite its modern popularity, the legend still sends shivers down the spines of many who visit Sleepy Hollow. It's said that if you drive along the Old Dutch Church Road after dark, you may hear the sound of hoofs galloping behind you. And if you're unlucky, you might even cross paths with the Headless Horseman, who won't rest until he finds what he's looking for. Story 4. The Wendigo. In the frozen forests of the northern United States and Canada, the legend of the Wendigo is a chilling tale deeply rooted in the traditions of Native American tribes such as the Ojibwe, Cree, and Algonquin. The Wendigo is described as a cannibalistic spirit, a skeletal, ravenous creature that feeds on human flesh and embodies greed and despair. According to the legend, the Wendigo was once a person who, in times of extreme starvation, resorted to cannibalism. As punishment, they were cursed and transformed into a monstrous being, doomed to wander the forests eternally in search of human prey. The Wendigo is often depicted as emaciated, with prominent bones, sunken eyes, and gray or frostbitten skin. Some accounts describe it as having antlers and sharp claws, while others emphasize its towering, tree-like stature. The presence of the Wendigo is associated with an unnatural cold. It's said that when the creature is near, the wind carries strange whispers of its name, and the forest falls eerily silent. Those who encounter it report an overwhelming sense of despair and an insatiable hunger, as if the Wendigo is trying to possess them. The legend serves as more than a horror story. It is a cultural warning against greed, selfishness, and breaking sacred taboos. To indigenous communities, the Wendigo symbolizes the consequences of putting one's desires above the needs of the group, particularly during times of hardship. It also represents a natural force punishing those who disrespect the balance of the land. Modern reports of the Wendigo continue to emerge in remote areas. Hunters and campers describe hearing heavy footsteps in the forest or seeing tall, thin figures at a distance. In one particularly chilling account, a group of campers in Minnesota felt a sudden drop in temperature around their campfire, followed by piercing screams that seemed to come from all directions. They fled, but upon returning to the site the next day, found enormous, deep footprints in the snow, as if something had been circling them during the night. Paranormal investigators who have studied the Wendigo legend suggest it may be linked to accounts of possession. Wendigo psychosis is a term used to describe a mental state where individuals feel an uncontrollable urge to consume human flesh, believing they are transforming into a Wendigo. While modern science questions the creature's existence for indigenous communities, the Wendigo is all too real. If you venture into the northern forests, the advice is clear. Respect nature, stay with your group, and if you feel a sudden chill or hear whispers on the wind, run. It's said that once the Wendigo becomes aware of your presence, it will never stop hunting you until its hunger is satisfied. Story 5. The Chupacabra. The legend of the Chupacabra is one of the most widespread tales across Latin America and the southern United States. This mysterious creature is said to attack animals, particularly goats, leaving their carcasses completely drained of blood. The name Chupacabra translates to goat sucker, referencing its peculiar method of feeding. Though the legend gained prominence in the 1990s, similar reports date back decades earlier. The first widely documented Chupacabra sighting occurred in Puerto Rico in 1995. Farmers reported finding their goats and other livestock dead, with small puncture wounds on their necks and completely devoid of blood. Hysteria quickly spread across the island, and sightings began to flood in. Witnesses described the creature as bipedal, about 5 feet tall, with large red eyes, spines along its back, and a reptilian appearance. Its predatory behavior and unusual appearance led many to speculate that the Chupacabra could be an extraterrestrial entity. The legend soon spread to other parts of the Caribbean, Mexico, and the southern United States. By the 2000s, the creature's description began to change. In Texas and New Mexico, reports described the Chupacabra as a dog-like animal with wrinkled, hairless skin, sharp teeth, and glowing eyes. This shift raised questions about whether the creature was supernatural or simply a wild animal with a severe disease, such as mange. One of the most famous stories occurred in 2007 when a Texas farmer discovered a strange carcass he believed to be the Chupacabra. The animal had a bizarre appearance, with grayish skin and protruding teeth. However, genetic tests revealed it to be a coyote suffering from severe mange. Despite this explanation, many locals remain convinced the true Chupacabra is still out there. Modern accounts include farmers discovering their livestock attacked in inexplicable ways. Witnesses describe precise bite marks and a complete absence of blood at the scene, suggesting the creature drains its prey with efficiency. On one occasion, paranormal investigators visited a farm where an attack allegedly occurred. During the night, they heard howls and strange noises and discovered unusual footprints, but no conclusive evidence. Skeptics argue that the attacks attributed to the Chupacabra are the work of known predators, such as coyotes or birds of prey, and that the absence of blood can be explained by natural coagulation after death. However, for many, the precision of the wounds and the frequency of the reports suggest something far more sinister is at work. The Chupacabra legend continues to captivate imaginations worldwide. It has been featured in movies, TV shows, and books, cementing its place as one of the most famous creatures in cryptozoology. Despite rational explanations, the figure of the Chupacabra remains shrouded in mystery, and farmers in the southern U.S. and Latin America still keep a wary eye on their herds, fearing the predator might strike again. If you find yourself in an area where the Chupacabra has been sighted, the advice is simple. Keep a light on and avoid leaving animals unattended at night. Whether it's an unknown beast or something more familiar, the mystery of what drains the blood and terrorizes herds remains unsolved. Story 6. The Ghost of La Llorona. Among the most well-known legends of the southwestern United States and Latin America, La Llorona, or the Weeping Woman, is a figure that has sent shivers down spines for centuries. The story of a woman wandering in sorrow, crying for her lost children, has countless variations, but they all share the same tragic and terrifying core. According to legend, La Llorona was once a woman named Maria, renowned for her beauty and charm. She fell deeply in love with a wealthy man and married him, but her happiness was short-lived. After a few years of marriage and 2 children, her husband began to neglect her, preferring the company of other women. In a moment of desperation and rage, Maria drowned her own children in a river, believing that without them she could win back her husband. However, when she realized the horror of her actions, she took her own life. Since then, Maria's spirit has been seen wandering the banks of rivers and lakes, dressed in a flowing white or gray gown. Her anguished cries, often described as "Ay, mis hijos," "Oh my children," are chilling and unforgettable. In some versions of the story, she tries to lure children into the water, believing they are her own and either drowning them as punishment or in a desperate attempt to replace the ones she lost. La Llorona's tale is often used as a cautionary story for children, warning them to stay away from rivers or avoid wandering outside alone at night. Many parents claim to have seen or heard La Llorona while searching for their children. Accounts include sightings of a skeletal or pale figure slowly moving along riverbanks and cries that seem to come from all directions at once. One of the most chilling accounts occurred in 1935 in New Mexico. A woman named Elena claimed she heard loud wailing while washing clothes near a river at dusk. When she looked into the water, she saw a woman in white with long, disheveled hair, floating slowly downstream. Elena fled in terror, and when she told her story to locals, they confirmed she had likely encountered La Llorona. Paranormal investigations have attempted to capture evidence of La Llorona, but her phenomena remain unexplained. Recording equipment has captured sounds of sobbing and female voices near bodies of water, and many explorers report sudden temperature drops and an oppressive sensation when approaching rivers at night. Today, La Llorona's legend transcends the cultures that birthed it, appearing in films, TV shows, and even games. Despite her popularity, the story remains a chilling reminder of guilt and sorrow. For those living in areas where she has been sighted, the warning is simple. If you hear a woman crying at night, do not approach. It's said that those who cross La Llorona's path are never the same again. Story 7. Annabelle the Haunted Doll. Among the many cursed objects preserved in the Warren Occult Museum, none is more infamous than Annabelle, an innocent-looking doll that has become an icon of the supernatural. Her story began in the 1970s when 2 young nurses, Donna and Angie, received the doll as a birthday gift. Since then, Annabelle has gained global fame as one of the most haunted objects in the world. The doll, a typical raggedy and made of cloth, initially seemed like an ordinary toy. Donna kept her in her bedroom as decoration, but soon strange things began happening. The doll appeared to move on its own, shifting positions or being found in different rooms. On one occasion, Donna found Annabelle lying on her bed with her arms crossed, even though she always left her sitting upright. Shortly after, Donna and Angie began finding handwritten notes on scraps of paper they didn't own. The messages, written in childlike handwriting, read things like, "Help me and help Lou." Lou, a close friend of the two, began feeling uneasy around the doll and insisted something was wrong. One night, Lou had a terrifying dream where Annabelle climbed onto his chest and strangled him. When he awoke, he felt intense pain and found claw-like scratches on his body. Frightened, Donna and Angie sought help from a medium, who claimed the doll was possessed by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. The girl, the medium said, had died on the property and wanted to be loved. Feeling sympathetic, Donna allowed the spirit to stay in the doll. However, the activity grew more violent, prompting them to contact Ed and Lorraine Warren, the renowned demonologists. The Warrens investigated and concluded that Annabelle was not possessed by a human spirit but by a demonic entity. According to them, the doll was being used as a conduit for the entity to get closer to Donna and Angie, eventually aiming to possess one of them. The Warrens performed a cleansing ritual in the apartment and took Annabelle to their museum. Since then, Annabelle has been kept in a special glass case, blessed regularly by a priest to contain her malevolent energy. Despite this, unsettling events continue to occur around her. One of the most famous accounts involves a motorcyclist who mocked the doll during a visit to the museum. Hours later, he died in an accident, and his girlfriend, who survived, claimed he had been laughing about Annabelle just before the crash. Museum staff report hearing strange noises, such as tapping and scratching, coming from Annabelle's case. Visitors often describe feeling an unexplained chill near her or seeing shadows moving around the area where she is displayed. On one occasion, a photographer who took a picture of Annabelle found a ghostly figure standing beside her in the image. Annabelle has inspired numerous films, including those in the Conjuring franchise, which dramatize and expand upon her story. However, for those who have dealt with the doll in real life, the threat she poses is far more serious than any fiction. Lorraine Warren often warned visitors never to underestimate Annabelle, stating that her malice and power are very real. If you visit the occult museum, the rules are clear. Never touch Annabelle's case, never mock her, and above all, never challenge her. Those who disrespect the doll are said to carry part of her energy with them, becoming targets of the entity that inhabits her. What Annabelle truly seeks remains a mystery. Story 8: The Bell Witch. In the early 19th century, in the town of Adams, Tennessee, a family was terrorized by a spirit that would become known as the Bell Witch, one of the most documented hauntings in American history. The legend claims the spirit began tormenting the Bell family after a land dispute between John Bell, the family patriarch, and his neighbor, Kate Batts. Kate, considered eccentric and possibly a practitioner of magic, allegedly cursed the Bells before her death. The disturbances started subtly. The family heard knocking on the outside walls of their home, whispering voices, and the sound of chains dragging across the floor. Over time, the manifestations became more violent. Objects were thrown, furniture moved on its own, and family members were pushed or scratched by an unseen force. The spirit seemed to target Betsy Bell, the youngest daughter, who was often found with visible signs of physical attacks. The spirit also communicated verbally. It reportedly spoke clearly, mocked the family, and sang hymns sarcastically. Some witnesses claimed the entity could recite Bible verses but also uttered threats and curses. The haunting attracted so much attention that Andrew Jackson, who later became President of the United States, visited the Bell farm to witness the phenomena. He allegedly left in fear, describing the experience as beyond any logical explanation. The climax of the legend was the death of John Bell. In 1820, he fell gravely ill, and the spirit claimed responsibility, saying it had poisoned him. After his death, the family found a small vial of an unknown liquid near John's bed, seemingly confirming the spirit's claim. Today, the Bell Farm and the nearby Bell Witch Cave are considered extremely haunted locations. Visitors report hearing voices, feeling invisible touches, and seeing shadowy figures moving across the property. Electronic devices often malfunction, and some people describe feeling a heavy pressure on their chest as if being closely watched. The Bell Witch story is one of the few hauntings officially acknowledged in historical records. Despite numerous investigations, the mystery remains unsolved. For those visiting the farm or cave, the warning is clear: enter with respect and never provoke the spirit. The Bell Witch is said to harbor lingering resentment and will not hesitate to demonstrate her power to those who dare cross her path. Story 9: The Cecil Hotel. Located in downtown Los Angeles, California, the Cecil Hotel is a building with a history marked by tragedy and inexplicable events. Constructed in 1924, the hotel was initially designed to symbolize affordable luxury but soon became synonymous with death, mystery, and paranormal activity. With its history of suicides, murders, and strange occurrences, the Cecil is considered one of the most haunted places in the United States. The hotel's grim reputation began to take shape during the 1930s, during the Great Depression, when it shifted from a tourist destination to a haven for long-term residents, many of whom faced financial and emotional struggles. The surge in suicides during this period earned it the nickname the Suicide Hotel. One of the most infamous incidents involved Pauline Otten, who in 1962 jumped from her ninth-floor window, tragically killing a pedestrian below. The Cecil also hosted notorious criminals. In the 1980s, serial killer Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, stayed at the hotel while committing a series of brutal murders in Los Angeles. Another serial killer, Jack Unterweger, used the hotel as his base of operations in the 1990s. These infamous guests only added to the hotel's sinister aura. The most mysterious event associated with the Cecil occurred in 2013 with the death of Elisa Lam. The young Canadian tourist disappeared while staying at the hotel, and her body was later discovered in a rooftop water tank after guests complained of discolored water with a strange taste. Security footage showed Elisa behaving oddly in the elevator shortly before her death, gesturing toward the empty hallway as though interacting with someone unseen. While her death was ruled accidental, many believe supernatural forces were involved. In addition to its dark history, reports of paranormal activity at the Cecil are widespread. Guests and staff claim to hear footsteps in empty hallways, doors slamming on their own, and disembodied voices during the night. Some have reported seeing shadowy figures in mirrors or movements along the walls. One guest recounted feeling invisible hands grip their shoulders while showering, though they were alone in the room. Paranormal investigators visiting the Cecil have captured recordings of voices pleading for help and claiming, "I can't leave." Many describe the energy in the building as heavy and oppressive, particularly on the upper floors. The elevator where Elisa Lam was last seen is often cited as a hotspot for supernatural activity, with reports of it stopping on random floors with no passengers inside. Despite attempts to rebrand the Cecil as the Stay on Main, its macabre history continues to attract thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. To many, the hotel is more than a building with a tragic past. It's a nexus of negative energy, where the suffering of its residents has left a profound and unsettling mark. If you choose to visit the Cecil Hotel, the warning is clear. Avoid the upper floors at night, and if you hear voices or feel sudden changes in temperature, leave immediately. It's said that the hotel absorbs the energy of all who pass through, and not all the spirits that remain are at peace. Story 10. Slender Man. Although a modern creation, Slender Man has quickly become one of the most terrifying urban legends of the digital age. Originating in 2009 on an internet forum called Something Awful, Slender Man was initially part of a contest to manipulate images and craft fictional horror stories. However, the tall, faceless figure soon transcended its origins, evolving into a chilling myth with a life of its own. Slender Man is described as a humanoid figure, extremely tall and unnaturally thin, with elongated arms that sometimes extend like tentacles. Dressed in a black suit and lacking facial features, his blank visage only adds to his unsettling presence. He is often associated with forests, where he stands motionless among the trees, silently observing his victims. The legend suggests that Slender Man preys on children and teenagers, luring them with promises or manipulating their thoughts. Stories about Slender Man vary, but they almost always involve unexplained disappearances. In some accounts, he appears in victims' dreams, leaving them in a state of paranoia. Others claim he can distort images and videos, subtly appearing in the background as a harbinger of doom. The legend gained notoriety in 2014 when two young girls in Wisconsin stabbed a friend in a wooded area, claiming they did it to appease Slender Man. Although the victims survived, the case shocked the world and cemented the myth as more than just fictional horror. Psychologists pointed to the incident as an example of how urban legends can influence behavior, especially in the digital age, where stories spread rapidly and take on a life of their own. Slender Man has become the center of an expansive online mythology, inspiring games, films, and series. Many claim to have inexplicable experiences tied to him, such as spotting him in forests or feeling watched after reading about him. While no evidence supports his existence, the figure of Slender Man continues to evoke fear in many. For those who venture into forests or delve too deeply into the Slender Man mythology, the warning is simple. Stay vigilant and do not lose yourself in your thoughts. It's said that once you become aware of Slender Man, he also becomes aware of you, appearing when you least expect it. Even if he's just a fictional creation, his presence in the collective imagination is terrifyingly real. If you made it this far, the mystery has hooked you. So, leave your like, subscribe, and hit the bell to follow each new story. Thanks for watching and see you in the next terror.